This is the Rsi indicator that was came up a long time ago. The nice thing about this indicator is very simple. It only uses one number, and it's just an index. And the classic RSI is a 14 period, so I put that on the top panel. On the bottom, I put a 3, and I've marked off every damn level, every 10 level. And I'm looking for the market to, if we get to 0 or 100, that's certainly, there's overbought, oversold. People trade like that. But we can also draw trend lines on it. And that's another thing that, but there's a lot you can do with it. And it's not, I wouldn't use it as my sole strategy, but there are some great quick and dirty signals in here. And anytime that you see any signal that, or any pattern that is very tight, like a triangle or flag, you'll typically see a zigzag in the RSI, a cluster of dojis or something you're looking. And so on the 4-hour playback here of the euro dollar, this is before the euro dollar crashes. There's some significant crashes coming, or maybe they already came, but just looking to draw trend lines on the 14 period and treat it as if it's like some price, and also just, draw trend lines on price, just good old fashioned. But here's a trend line, right? So you get a breakout of trend line. Well, it breaks out this trend line before it breaks out the real price trend line. So you're gonna get, this is how to get an edge. Somebody said, how do you get an edge? Well, you're getting in here. You're getting in down here before it breaks actual price. That's the edge. Now the other thing is that if you go way back in time here, now the guy who took over for the guy who's pretty much the RSI guru, so to speak, he will tell you anytime RSI is above the 50-yard line, or it's up in this thing, you're in an uptrend. You just are. And when you're up there, you're looking for reversals, which are the opposite of divergence. So it's like the backdraft of the market. So as the market comes up here, there's just a cluster of entries here. Now in the 14 period, you can see them. They're not as dramatic. They don't jump out that much. Here is one. And the period count is always going to be, the optimal is going to be a really tight signal. Like this. This is 0. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4-period reversal, great place to get in. You just have to pull the trigger. Plus, you just have the good old-fashioned tops become bottoms. We revisit the triangle. You get in on limits here. But RSI, I guess, is a nice confirmation. Here is a, you kind of can barely see it, but there's just a subtle 2 periods and 3-period reversals here on the 14. Here is another reversal, and here's another one. So more oversold, but we're at a hard price. Plus, we're revisiting the apex of a triangle, typically when that happens. Looking at this, so if you drill down on this chart, say, and the other thing is that on the 3-period beneath is gonna, the reversals will jump out at if you're down on the index 10 here, take a look and see if you have a reversal, and you do there. Do you have a triple reversal? Yes. You're holding this line. You see RSI 3 gives you a reversal. If you're below this, right? You find this price, right? So you're just going to keep going up. Now here is a real steep reversal that you also get in the 14 period here. I think this is a reversal. More oversold, and I can't control the zoom on this to save my life. More oversold here, and look here to see if you are slightly higher priced. Now, obviously it's the revisit of the triangle, and I think there's a cluster of reversals here. There's probably a reversal here in the 1 hour for this last gas, but the air is getting thin. Now, for the typical usage of RSI, which has always been divergence, that's a classic. Now, the 3 period is going to give you a much more dynamic divergence. I'll give you a heads up on it. It's right around the corner. You got it right here, and so when you see that, you're looking for a reversal. Anytime you see a divergence, you should see a reversal. Now, I see the reversal here that gave you that last gas, but you didn't get it on this. So you can also take this RSI and treat it as price, since it's kind of sluggish at the index of 14. It's kind of sluggish. And it's not going to give you see this reversal, you don't get it in 14, but you get it here. So this is more dynamic, and this is the divergence that causes this reversal. Yeah, there's divergence, but guess what? No reaction to it. And here, this top becomes a bottom. So you could do top-bottom analysis pretty easy on this. Another thing to look for is trend lines on RSI that the 14 only, maybe you put it on the 3, but 3 it's going to be, you got to be really, this is going to be more trend lines to draw. Once you get this initial index, this rollover, you can just drag that over and see how the market is. This is the transverse index as far as I'm concerned. This is like a foliation. I looked it up, and there's a couple foliations like this. But since it's on prices only, and so if you really steepen this out and just forget about the market and just trade RSI, the guy that the famous RSI guru will tell you that he's aware of every number on this thing. I mean, he goes to 52 point whatever, he's looking at that number. You just trade the RSI. So we have a top, bottom, and RSI right here. If we got a reversal on the 14 RSI based on this 3, you would take the trade. So like this, you could see all the trades on here. If you didn't even know price, if you didn't care, you just said this is the head. Here's a shoulder, here's a shoulder, here is the top that should become a bottom. Here we take that out. This is the doji. Like if you could put these as candles, that'd be kind of neat. RSI candles. But look at this reversal here. More oversold. RSI doesn't give it to you, but in price it does, because I think if it has to, right? Because now here, you have a trend line here, so your trend line on RSI looks like that, and your trend line that you broke out of was here, but you also broke out earlier on this trend line. So if you're drawing this kind of thing, and now we're looking for, okay, we just broke this trend line, so could you have sold up there? Probably, because like this trend line, they're meant to be broken, I think. And like here, for instance, got a nice solid trend line, you got divergence here, I'm sure, in price, and certainly up there. You stretch this out, so bring the price back into the picture. That's what you're gonna make money off of, I guess. But we got our first reversal in the RSI here on the 14. So we're more oversold, and we're at a higher price. So if you're just looking at the 14 only, you try to balance that out so that you can see the way it behaves. And in playback, you can just see this these setups coming. Now this here is more oversold right there than you are here, and you're at a higher price. So another place to get in. And according to Andrew Cardwell, who basically is the expert on this, as soon as you get in above this area here, as soon as you start to trade in the indexes above here, you're in a bull trend. Now, not to say you can't plunge, but anytime we get RSI below and price still maintains this, we'll probably get a retest of this triangle you typically do. That's just always another stupid place to get in. We could also come all the way back to here. So we always have probably not going to get filled today on that trade, but let's see the, okay, so now here's a possible reversal forming. And if you're going to figure this was a trend line break back here, and you're waiting for a retest of that trend line break, tops become bottoms on trend line theory. And of course, we still have our pending sitting at the apex of this last known triangle for the scalp, and then down here for the bounce. I think that they're going to crush it here. I can't remember where we're at in the price. No, I guess this is the recovery before the big crush, but I thought it was playing back October of something. And yeah, this 4-hour chart, but it's all the same to RSI. Now here's a divergence. So we just got our first divergence in RSI here, looking for a sell, and then you've broken this trend line. And this bottom become a top here, so you could have sells there. Taking a look at the 3 period, you could still draw a trend line on 3 period. You're getting the same structure, breakout, rolls over. Now you're looking for places to possibly get short on the first reversal, or you're just getting short now on that divergence. So divergences do work, but now that typically you have to be looking for a reversal now. If this divergence fails, any closes of RSI below here, you're going to think about buying, because this is the this price is in other words, RSI is more oversold compared to this, more oversold, but at a higher price than this. So you have this inversion. This is like the backdraft, and RSI here is down at pretty serious lows, but we could also, the divergence could really kick in, because the problem is that there's this big hole forming underneath. So you always have to be aware of at least something other than just paying attention to only your RSI. And if that's true, then we're probably going to walk down maybe, or maybe you have a trend line here and you're waiting to add, but look for the, if you're going to trade RSI, you're looking for, in Elliott wave terms, this is a wave 4 or whatever. This is obviously a triangle forming in RSI, and you have divergence here on the 3 period. And you can see real clearly the divergences here are the, like here's a divergence for a buy. You didn't get it in the 14 because it's not dynamic enough. But here was a nice scalp. Then you don't get this. There's a buy signal here where you have a reversal. Here's a, okay, that's not a buy. And here's your first buy here that you don't get here. So with the RSI on the bottom filter being your like fast stochastics, if you're a stochastic trader, and here's they're taking it to the floor now. I think this is where they punish the euro. So this is the beginning of the end of the euro, which is, if you're going to test anything out, you want to test it on this kind of data. You don't want to test it on, of course, if you built a range bot, it's different than if you built a smash bot or a trend bot. So sometimes the markets come unwrapped. And here's an example here. So you really can't, you don't have a lot of trades here. Now you have a first reversal setting up here in RSI. If you notice, on the 14 right now, this is the collapse of the euro. Since you've taken out this trend line, you have to go with the theory that, okay, well, there's a problem. And then this trend line is based on these 2 points here. So you would have, if you're doing the RSI, the correlation up here is going to be this trend line. But see how this is tighter, so you would have sold here. In other words, since it's a momentum indicator, you're getting in ahead of everybody. You've already, because you're not waiting for, of course, the guy that got the trend line drawn here, he's getting in there too. But your trend line goes back to that original point. Now, this trend line's holding, but RSI, since we've gone down to the 40s and we've just taken out this support, if this doesn't hold right now, there's a reversal from back here. Now you just got, okay, so you're still waiting for your first reversal in here. And unless you're just going to jump on the short trend, this 4 hour, you could get on the 1 hour chart, I guess, about now. But there's this big vacuum that's forming underneath anyways. And you got the without overdoing it, I guess. So now your trend line breakout that should hold here is right now here. So you broke out, you pulled back, maybe it's time to go long. So yeah, maybe the scalpers are coming in here. Do you have divergence here? Now the problem is that this divergence on the 14, so now they're just going to wipe it out. So this is 4 hour chart though. And I think if you're on the weekly and you're looking at a 3-period divergence on the weekly, you're like, uh-oh. And running the 3-period RSI on weekly is always never hurts. You can be the first one into these trades. And yeah, it does work. And yeah, RSI, when you get the quick zigzags like this, forget about it. These are amazing, especially a triangle. If you don't trade a line chart on top, you're trading the RSI as your line chart. Now look at it come back, and it's got to hold this line here for an entry. Look at them punish this. This is the euro going down the tubes in RSI. And this had to hold. If that didn't hold, because all your previous reversals need to hold. Now look where it comes to on the 14. Now it's going to take the 1 period into the floor. This is your last known support. You're taking that out right now. Whereas price-wise, you haven't taken it out yet. Notice this point here. We're way away from that. But we've already taken it out in RSI 14 period. So you're really ahead of the game here. You're already short here. Like when it went short here and took this out, in other words, if you drew your support and resistance on RSI, your support should have been right there. And in price, that was back up here. And this support should have held. All right. If you could trade this thing, breaking out of that, oh my God, you're already short. That's based on, it's kind of hard to see sometimes, but this bottom here is actually this bottom. And so you've already taken out this bottom in RSI. You're not even near that bottom yet. You are so into this game now. You could run a moving average on RSI and get in. So as RSI is rolling over, you're already short this thing. It's like MACD on RSI. Here you got major divergence, and here you have your first reversal to get short. Look at this. This is more overbought, but at a lower price compared to this. So you're always looking for this kickback factor. You're going to see it on the 3-period. You're never going to see it. You're not never going to see it. You rarely see it on a 14. But the 14 is good for this indexing of, and you could set this to 10 or whatever. But I know 14 is the classic, and out of the box, everything's, 26, 12, 26, 9 on MACD, for God's sakes. You want to tighten that up. You want a tighter version of MACD running down here. And you can do the same reversals in MACD. These bottoms become the pivot rollover top. So when you draw these trend lines, like So you can see all the wedges down here, they're a lot more dynamic. The 14, you got a trend line here now, and we're going down this channel. You can do channels on it too. You can do a channel tool on that. Okay, now we're really going to hell. Now, you just haven't even gotten to this price yet still. Believe it or not. The structure you took out on RSI, plus you have this structure point. And you haven't made there either. And just look at that. Now you're getting a reversal in a long-term sense. But problem is, look at this. Now they could take this RSI 3 period into the floor. It goes to 0. It goes to 1. It goes to 0. Now people are buying into this. Now this, certainly the scalpers are buying into this. I mean, I'd be buying on maybe the 5-minute chart with stops for reversals, but look at this thing. So now I still haven't taken the RSI below 15 here. But look how it's like just hitting where I already got short based on the breakdown of that a long time ago. Now it's coming up on, well, it's in this, so this low here, what is the lowest low in RSI right now? We're just hitting my structure that I got short on. Now we're looking to buy possibly because we could be coming into a reversal. If you consider that on the 14 index, without going to the daily, this index holds up pretty good across time frames without getting all squirrely like a moving average. This low here in price is, if you draw a trend line like this, technically this is more oversold than this, and we're at a higher price, so we could be coming back into using more oversold at a higher price theory. And I also have the possible revisiting of this triangle, which is always a classic move in Forex, to always revisit the apex of a triangle or the very starting gate. So let's play this back, see how this thing unfolds. Now this isn't a punishing move. This is like the most punishing move in the euro dollar ever that I've seen in the history of the euro dollar. The other sell-off in 2008 was not even like this. And yeah, if you're building a robot and it could trade, if we could trade 3 years of the euro, including this phase, that'd be a great bot to have. And look at this, RSI is just coming off the floor here on the 3. The 14's come back to life. Now there's a possible reversal forming now, because is this, now you're really looking, and you're looking for a sell now, because if they can lock that price in above this last known notch here, then we'll get our first place to get short here. But they don't even, it doesn't even come up for air here. I think they keep crushing it. And the 14 is coming back to life with it a little bit. Now, we need to close above this high, and the price needs to be lower than it was here, which is all the way back. It's kind of hard to identify this with candles, but what looks like a flat spot here is actually a baby rally, because this double top here is this, which was that sell because of this. And that, so now we almost have a place to draw a trend line there, and kind of like on another broker, this would probably have been an amazing divergence on a different 4-hour broker that has a different close to their 4-hour charts. Okay, now this is the floor we took out. This should become resistance now. If you're using top-bottom theory on your prices, you would take that same theory and apply it to RSI. And just imagine this is price. And yeah, like we're making lower lows, making higher highs, that nonsense. Your trend line, we're looking to break this trend line though. And this is going to be resistance, so this will be the big pivot. and maybe we had a trend line drawn in. If you're aggressive trading this, you have a trend line on these two peaks here. First place you can draw, and maybe you're getting long here because you're like, you know, we just broke the trend line on RSI. So you're early to the game, but you may be too early. Now look at how it's coming up into this index line here. And so now, can you do the same thing on price would be the question. Can you draw this? Let me make this a different color. For God's sakes here. Yeah, I just never find a color I like. You know, just make it black. So this trend line is being broken, about to, and you have a top here, so fractally you could be getting in there. But your trend line and price really is so way out here. You're so far from breaking anything. Your trend line here would be here. So yeah, this trend line goes way back because this is scooped out. Okay, now you're still waiting for some kind of divergence in the 14. So you got your first divergence in the 14, and because if they break that, and this is your, I guess your reversal kicked in here. You see this, you have to trade this reversal. More overbought, but at a lower price than where you're hanging it off of, which is this trend line. If this fails, then forget about it. Okay, so you're waiting for the, like you're always waiting. Here's a little broader view here. Now this index here, if this is a reversal from that trend line all the way back there that I draw, because time's been marching on, this index here, since this is a lower, a higher, and this is lower, but the price is higher, that's supposedly a reversal. You know, it's long-legged, but there it is. And that's the nice thing about RSI, that really no other indicator, well, they all can do that. You can see it in stochastics, although there's a little bit of distortions. You can see it. The thing about RSI, what makes it so unique or unique, is that it just is in your face, easy. It's stupid easy. Now here's a reversal setting up. Plus it's coming back into previous supports. Bottoms become tops, and where's all our bottoms are right there. And you can just, without drawing trend lines, that's why I have every handle marked. Okay, we're looking for a possible sell, but we also have a buy, and we also have the long-legged index that, as long as this is holding this inversion of the more oversold, but at a higher price compared to the last known situation, you have to be a bull. Not to mention, we still have a vacuum forming on the north side. And this setup needs to, you could wait for confirmations, 4-hour playback. You know, you might want to check other time frames, other brokers, because the problem with the 4-hour chart, you're dependent on these brokers. But here's a cup and handle, like whatever you call it, reversal. Also divergence on the 3 period with the 14. Okay, now maybe this is the bottom that should become a top. We could see a sell-off possibly now. More likely to see a sell-off here, especially after that big recovery. Everybody's like, missed that bullet. And so now we're waiting for the some type of short period. We also have the, if you're real aggressive, you could have a trend line, or you could just say, oh, I got a trend line on this. And look, it broke out, pulled back. I got a trend line on this. I'm getting long just because, you know what? Break back, pull back, get in. So on the top, theory that tops become bottoms in price, and that's the turning place, you have the divergence. So you have kind of a couple things in confluence. you got the divergence. Now this would be, we may retest that. We may plunge below that, and then we're going to look for a first reversal to get long. So, at least for the scalp of it all, that was a decent divergence. It took a while to form there. I guess that's where the patience part comes in. But to get the trend line break of the RSI at the same time you're getting divergence, it's kind of a double whammy. Now we're looking for this. Oh, we just got a 2-period pullback here. Pullbacks to the trend line. Okay, so now this is being broken on the trend line, and look at the long-legged reversal there. If you go on RSI 3, you can only really see it. So anytime this index pops above here and the price is lower, we don't really get that sensitivity out of the RSI 14. So there's really no, well, I guess there is an entry here. If you look at on the 14, in other words, this reversal here, there was an indication off of this baby little thing, and I know it seems pretty insignificant, but this bottom became a top and then whoosh. If you consider these two prices here, yeah, this price is lower than this price. It just takes a while to get used to looking and seeing these things. As long as you mark off here where you're currently at in the picture, now we're getting a retest to the 20, and no real quick and dirty places to get in long. But look how we're retesting. Now this is just the Gumpster trade, right? You're retesting this triangle down here. Duh. Where's your target to exit? Maybe here. So those kind of trades are the trades people say, look, I made $1 zillion in 40. Yeah, of course you did. Well, yeah, it took you, how long did it take you to get filled on this order? We waited 2 weeks, right? Sure, those trades are there all day long, right? All year long. But this happens on the 15-minute chart all day. But okay, now we have now we're looking for reversals to get long on always here on the 3. We're going to see it first, and the sell may be another reversal too. So you're always looking for, if you're looking for that. But just in terms of the index here, we're still holding the low from here, which means if you know, on the rule system based, even though that crushed down, it's still not lower than this. And this just tested that level, and if tops become bottoms, you're looking for a top become a bottom in RSI. And you're getting an edge. You're getting definitely ahead. It's because this momentum indicator, you're getting one step ahead of the crowd, or of the momentum, or just the breadth of the market. Okay, so now we've got a possible. We're looking for a divergence now to get long again. You know, hopefully you scalped out of that puppy when it exploded up into that last known bottom. Now we're looking for it to calm down a little bit and getting a low risk entry, and RSI maybe has to kick back down into the lower numbers. Right now you're 45. But you know, if this is your trigger pull, this is your trigger entry, your scalp indicator. And the one on top is your structure version of momentum. And then you got good old price, right? Because you have to actually trade the real prices at some point. And but it just gives you a great, now here's another trend line you could draw that's totally viable. I think anytime you can find a place to draw a trend line, we didn't quite retest it, but we're above it. And you could even put channels on here. You know, you could do equidistant channels and just treat it like price, and that's always a really fun thing to do. So you can see the market can walk down these channels, and there's the failure to make the target on the channel. It's probably time to think about buying this thing. Okay, now there's a possible plunge coming. You have a top, bottom, and price, so obviously sellers came in there just by the sheer fact of that. So your sell limits needed to be up there. And we really didn't get a signal. There's no reversal signal to even take this trade at RSI. Maybe this is your 2-period reversal, but you don't get a lower price here quite yet. Now we're looking to buy. We're looking for divergence setups now. I mean, I'm not chasing this thing to the downside for sure. And this is the obliteration of the euro dollar. I think we're going to go down here pretty hard. But if you're sticking, you're waiting for this failure of RSI to take out this insane low on the 3-period. Same thing here. We could draw our first trend line now, since we have our first, we have this trend line, and we have to remove it here, or you can still leave the other one. So let's wait for this to retest that trend line, or the RSI gives us a bigger pullback in the scheme there. Okay, so it's holding this trend line here. And we got like a double bottom, almost a divergence here. I think we did get a slight divergence here. I like this RSI 3-period beneath just to gauge what it's so sensitive that it just gives you great scalping opportunities to think about getting in when you're down in the 20s and down in you'll get there right quick, and then it doesn't last too long. And, but you have a real nice low, like especially when it does the zigzag. So you get the nice double bottoms there, and here's a nice launching point to go up. Now, at this point, you're still looking for possible sells. You know you're in a downtrend, so there could be some reversals, but there is a little bit of a problem. There's a big vacuum forming on the north side here, so I don't know if I'd be selling right now. I wait for, the nice thing about RSI, especially if it only on the 4-hour chart, it's going to keep you from getting in unless you do get a nice reversal or I don't really want to say overbought and oversold, but obviously most people buy when it's oversold, and they're like, okay, I'm going to get in, I'm going to sell when it's overbought, and it does work, but problem is buying here with just utter punishment. Even on the 14, of course, I think the people on the 3 are thinking, "Wow, that's just got to come up," and it does recover. Okay, now we're looking for reversals. If we can lock in a close below this double bottom without taking out this double bottom, it would qualify as an entry. And that's aggressive. Of course, if the 14 gives it to you, you definitely want to get in, because the 14 is definitely the creeper gear, or the 10. You can set that to 10. If you change this to 10, it's definitely going to be, or just change it to. Actually, I just changed it to 8 because it's more Fibonacci-ish, which means there's an index between here we don't see, which is 5. The 5 is pretty squirrely. So if you do it on 8, you get just draw, you can just see the divergences better. I mean, you could probably just run straight 8, you just take this out of the picture, right? It just depends how active, how much you want to trade it, and you're getting the double bottom here. You're not getting the pullback in the 8 right now. So, that's another way to look at it is if you're looking for this thing to close and lock underneath and you get an inverted hammer, you're definitely getting the hell in that. If you got a trend line here and you're breaking, it's just your trend lines are going to cross over. It's just like if you ran tighter moving averages, your crossovers are more often, and maybe they're more whipsawed. Maybe you're going to be more whipsawed, but I don't know. 14, you're never going to get up into the 100 values on a 14. Whereas I have a trend line here and I have a oscillator retest here. And it's easier to keep track and get a little bit more. Here's a nice crossover. So if this is your index crossing over like this, you're buying on the pullbacks into that. So you're treating this as if it's price. So you just find the way that sets up is you just take any trend line break. Just find any place where the market broke a major trend line, and then just take that and copy it. And that's going to be your entry confluence point there. So you're looking for that channel to always exist for the pullback into that with RSI has got to be definitely oversold. You don't want to be buying here, even though it could go up here. You know, it's just it's a riskier thing to buy high. Now, you know, I'd be taking profits. If I had bought down here or here, I'd definitely be getting out of something. Another thing, you're watching this strategy tester playback, how these two different periods respond. When the 3 pulls back down in, and price is maintaining above this, you know, it's very tempting to just, you can see the setup forming right now. As you pull back down lower in price, I mean, lower RSI is pulling back, but price really isn't. You can see it ratchet into this top. But you should always wait for the close. There's always a place to get back along this thing. So yeah, you waited for this to come down. So maybe you bought a little bit there. You're still holding a trend line here, an RSI, and still you've got the this resistance level up here, but you've already taken it out on RSI 8 period. You just blew through that. Now you're looking for the entries to be on these tops. A more aggressive entry. This top became a bottom in RSI, but it did not in price. So when the market really gets going, you know, it's really, of course you could set this to whatever, you know, like you said, I mean, some people put their RSI at 20. The only problem is that it's really hard to see the structure of it unless you zoom out. And if it's too shallow, you know, certainly this is a little extreme. But even in this case, RSI works on the 8. If you treat it like this, there's a huge meltdown coming in the euro here, I think. But like even here, you can see it kind of. If you go back here to this situation. Where's RSI here is relationship to here? And it's clearly, you know, this is more oversold than that. And when it breaks above this, takes this trend line out, and that ride there, here's another reversal entry. You know, here, and then comes a point in time when it just starts to cave in on itself. Now we should find sellers coming here right now. And you could say, okay, well, here's your reversal. But the problem could be is that it's over and it's going the other way. But see, this double bottom becomes the triple top for the sells. So you're already into that trade so early compared to most people. You can't draw that here. You can't say, okay, well, I got this double bottom that becomes a top. Yeah, I guess so. But that's this top. That's not this top. This double bottom becoming a top happened back here. You're already in the trade. Yeah, there's this one. That's what everybody else is thinking. And of course, there's the guy that got in early here on the break of that. Or he got on the break of this trend line. But it's pretty amazing to me how this index is so far ahead of the market by about, you know, I guess whatever you set this thing to. Okay, so that trend line is holding as resistance right now, And unfortunately, you have to delete all the objects and go back. So this should be the structure thing that's happening, and then we're looking for, if this fails, then this is the pivot and everybody's going to go along. Now we got a first buy reversal here, so we have to take that. I would say take reversals over any divergences. And on the 14, you didn't get it here. You never got the 14, but you got the 8 here, and you got the 3. You got a reversal here, you got a nice reversal here, and you got a nice one from here. You got to get long this puppy. And you've also got, I suppose, more trend lines you could draw on that. Okay, but here it's kind of obvious, and here you get it also. You actually get a better reversal here that you never, well, no, that's not true. You get a double bottom here without the reversal here. Now we got to blow out this top, and from the standpoint of the trend line, you could have drawn on 8 if you were just going to keep drawing this trend line and keep up on these things. Of course, as the market's moving, okay, this became support, a launching pad for a rally, but it became the support with the reversal built into that also. So it kicks back into that, but this is just typical momentum that most markets display. And I also wanted to do a buy stop entry video, which is based on this whole sell-off thing. But yeah, look at this, and you could do a trend line here. So if you take way out here, that's that support level, and then this is the trend line we just broke, and it should become resistance. But if this fails, forget about it. And you've got the tops become bottoms in here as you're walking back up the stairway. If this is a real divergence back here, you're looking for the next top become a bottom internally as you march up. The top that becomes a bottom here, if you correlate that to where that is in price, that's this top becoming this bottom. That's not happening in price, so there's nowhere to hang your hat. This baby top became the bottom launching pad for this rally. You had divergence in here, so you're definitely I wouldn't. It's more aggressive than just trading price top bottom. Here's your top bottom in price, but you're already in on this first bottom because this is a leading. The index is leading because it's a momentum indicator. It's still in shock, reacting to this price move, and there's a vapor lock that forms here, so you get these reversals because it's like smash and then okay, when it reindexes as it's coming back, it's averaging it, and it's really what you're looking at is the index of a moving average as opposed to a moving average. And that's why the divergence is happening. So the tighter you set it, and MACD is doing the same thing, but MACD is so smoothed out and so away from reality for me that what's the point? Triple bottom, quadruple bottom. Anything below here, you're just nailing it, Probably, it's oversold here. You do here. Well, yeah, you nailed it here too. Maybe you lost, but you're always thinking you have better risk-reward ratios than the next person, right? You have to pay the rent. Top becomes a bottom, so you can see the stuff. Revisit that triangle. Whoopsie daisy, and then you got this trend line. Take that out. Boom. But you're getting in before the crowd. You're getting in here. You're not waiting for. People are selling here. Believe it or not, there's people selling courses. They get short here. Look, I made yeah, sure you did. But what the hell were you thinking up here? It's going to the moon? Anyways, That's the typical world though, right? Okay, so we held this support line. You got in here maybe. You got another reversal. Now we're waiting for another setup. Okay, we just locked in here. If we close here, we just locked in this possibly. Lower close. Didn't get it on the 8 though. Still flirting with this pivot. This is the moment of truth. And are we going to plunge it here? Since this is the revisit of this triangle back here, right, anything's possible. So big resistance there. We got to cut through. Also getting divergence. Every time you get, typically a good reversal has divergence, so there could be a crash coming, just like this one, where you got the divergence and then smash. But the problem is there's a big vapor lock up there. And we've already taken out this top, became a bottom back here, so if you're going to buy every pullback into here on the 8 and every time RSI comes back to anything deep here, you're getting long. And now waiting for this to play out. You could take that index down so you just see it tight. That's the 3, and here's the 8 on top. And there's the real price. Notice the price isn't pulling back that much, but look at the RSI crashing. And that's what a setup looks like in RSI. You can see it forming, and you can see it poking down there because we've already established this drift up. The index is already locked in these numbers. And we're looking for a pullback below this to give us a confirmation of a true, we got to lock the RSI down below here into this trend line to really get a juicy setup for a real spring load. A real reload the spring back, lock in, lock and load, let it run. Or you're just getting in on good old-fashioned orders like you have a buy limit here on this previous top. But if you're going to pull the trigger or you're going to wait for RSI to set up here. Okay, now you just got your first reversal locked in here on the 3. We have to wait for another 4 hours though. Waiting for the 8 period RSI to come in below possibly, but we're still getting in here. And there was a big stop hunt. Okay, so it's locked in. There you go, you're in at the market. Waiting for it to come up into this trend line now. It's going to be one of your exit targets, probably. And of course, it's painfully obvious that, you know, once we take out this wick, forget about it. Possible smash all the way up into this last known support. I think that's goes without saying. But that's what, you know, you trade without RSI, but, you know, I think some of the, you know, the divergence thing is an obvious situation, but when it fails, man, I mean, when you're in an uptrend and the divergence isn't working, you know, it's telling you something's up. And maybe it's time to double up and go the other way. But you're always looking for a divergence that turns into a reversal. So here's a setup here. Here's a divergence that just turned into a reversal. If you're trading this, because you're saying, look at divergence, look at higher high, look at I'm selling. You know, I'm selling that double top. And it fails, it pulls back into divergence, comes back in. And the very tight signals, you're always counting this as 0. The peaks, that's 0 count. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 period reversal. Not really a perfect one. Here's a better one. This is about a 6 period reversal. Better move. Here, there's a triple. Boom. Okay, so we have to wait for that to play out. And then, of course, you have to take profits, too. Here's another reversal setting up. This could be... there's no divergence there, but here's the typical setup as you come back here. More oversold, still at a higher price. There could be a You know, it could still crash down there. No divergence really to sell. And, you know, fortunately you got to wait. These things don't happen overnight, people. But this 4-hour chart, right? Still waiting for a plunge, I think. They're always going to stop hunt people. So even though you might have taken this trade here, you've got to get out of all your trades with something. And you're waiting for the more oversold but a higher price. So you got to hold this price. You got to hold this price here if you're going to reference off of this as your. So you're picking this price here and here. You're looking for more oversold. Anything below this line, but we got to maintain this price. And it's got to close there. So there was divergence here, and this, another thing about this line here is that when you get a reversal, that has to hold. Now on the 8 period, you could look at the 8 period to see, are you breaking a trend line? See, now we never got above that. And this is a reversal on the larger scheme right now. If you connect these tops, and you've always got to keep up on these trend lines, because you have a 4 touch here, you're more oversold, you're more overbought here, but at a lower price than you are back here still. So you have to, after that ride's over, you still have to reference this is where the whole story started. So that was your crossover breakout, but this is still, you can't deny that this is more overbought here than here. So this is on your 8 period, this is your sell. That was your next sell. Didn't work out too good. This would be in your next sell, and there's your next sell from a reversal standpoint of this larger downtrend. Okay, now we're looking for a lower RSI, but we cannot take out these lows. Okay, we just got a lower RSI referenced off of this. It's lower than that. We haven't broken that. So we can think about buying now. We haven't taken out this low either. So we have a reversal off of that right now forming. So we have more oversold than this, more oversold than that, still holding this, kind of crushing into this, but I think we all knew there was a possibility of a retest. Okay, so go back to the playback. So now this would be your first long-term reversal on the weekly 3 period. It probably is a very clean reversal. I can't switch time frames, but this is still the point of contention, was this old resistance point up here in the RSI 8. And we're supposed to be testing this trend line down here and holding it, kind of bop through it. And last known breakout, if you notice, top become bottom here just for a moment. Trendline breakout, comes back up into the thing, and this is why you're earlier in than the guy that's waiting for the trendline break. I guess you got a trendline break here. But you're in before that guy, because see, this trendline break pull back into doesn't give you the trendline break of this trendline. Okay, that may be too much to look at. In other words, if you're getting in on this trendline break, support becomes resistance here. You're in before the guy that drew the trend line off of. He couldn't draw it here because he's too far away if he started here. But what if he put it in here tighter? And he gets in on the break here. But you got in before that break. Now, you're looking for reversals. You're looking for anything that's going to queue up to this last known reversal. This is a deeper price than that, so that invalidates that. But you got to go looking back further, because once the market calms down, this index is going to reset. Now you're looking to hang your reversals off of this. It's a longer legged view there. And it's a shallow trend, but it's there. So that's your reversal here. We're expecting some propulsion off of that. And this trend line should become resistance on the way back up. The robot keeps trying to trade. So just on a pure price entry thing here. And what does that mean for you inside of the RSI trend line breaks? Our trend line was back here, and this is where we're going to expect to see resistance again. And we've also got a early entry trend line here, say. So maybe we got long down here. And here's the other trend line breakout. So you're in here, and this is almost a reversal here, maybe on the 3. See, on the 3 period, you got a reversal now. So if you get the 3 period running underneath there, it's very tight, and that's a 0 here, and that is a 1, 2, 3 period reversal. Anything 5 to 2 period reversals are really pretty explosive moves, because it's typically a triangle or a flag or a top become a bottom there. Okay, so we're waiting for our side to come back for another entry. More oversold at a higher price, and the 8 would be the other filter, so we're waiting for the 8 to lock in below this last known launching pad. So if they can close it and lock it without taking out this low, we still can't get above that trend line. So even the guys that are just trading old-fashioned trading, you know, they sold up here, but maybe only for a moment, and their target has to be to get out. You know, the people that sold up here, their first target of exit has to be here, because they know buyers are going to come back into the previous, so they're just grabbing that little move there. Okay, now we're looking for a big move up, because we've got RSI pulled back. We've got a reversal, although it's kind of outside the ideal pullback time frame. And I can't see it on the 8 period here. Not really. See, we didn't really get the signal here, but we do have a top become a bottom. So you have a top become a bottom here because you just don't have that amount of energy. And the big goal is to break through this thing, but I'm definitely always taking profits at that line or selling for a scalp. And now we can draw a trend line back here. We broke that, so we have to draw it here now. We can always retest there, and always scanning for the zigzag pullback to get that quick and dirty. So waiting for this to lock in below this. And if we get a setup on the 8 period, it's probably a better trade when the 8 filters out, because the 8's gonna take the less trades, but they're good trades. Like it took this one and this one, whereas the but it missed this trade here. There's always a trade-off, because you know, if you're too sensitive, then you're going to react to everything and you're going to overtrade it. But okay, so we held this support, and we're looking to, you know, we got a top bottom in RSI here. We didn't get a top bottom in price here necessarily, and now we just have to wait. Okay, we just got our first reversal now. We just locked in below here, and we almost got it here, but not quite. But you could look at this as being, if you're not running if you're going to run RSI at a slower pace, you just consider that to be price. Okay, now here's divergence. Sellers are coming in, thinking, okay, well, it's done, it's cooked, but you know, we just broke out this. typical breakout pullback, but yeah, that's my RSI. 3 period with the 14 and the 8.